This revolting young lady was working as a server in a lager shop. The client found her as well revolting, so he said demonizing words, conjointly compared her to another wonderful server at the shop. Hye-jin, indeed, in spite of the fact that in her heart, feeling exceptionally too bad for herself, but still attempting to grin at the clients. After work, Hye-jin quickly ran to her best friend's birthday party. Indeed, in spite of the fact that she was revolting, her best companion was a lovely hot young lady. In spite of the fact that their excellence is distinctive, their fellowship is still exceptionally great. Amid the party, her best companion shockingly slipped and fell into the swimming pool. The youthful men adjacent, not perplexed of the cold water, promptly bounced into the pool and attempted to swim as rapidly as conceivable to spare this lovely young lady. At the same time, everybody was in chaos and inadvertently thumped Hye-jin into the water. Indeed, in spite of the fact that she battled and sank more profound and more profound, no one still paid consideration. Luckily, the swimming pool was not profound, so Hye-jin, she seemed get out on her possess. Hye-jin unobtrusively cleared out the party. She absent-mindedly strolled domestic. She was pitiful, but couldn't cry. She moreover had no magnificence, so it was exceptionally troublesome in work and life. But no one knows her past, is that she was a greatly wonderful young lady, and adored by numerous individuals. She was too the primary adore of numerous boys' dreams, back when was in center school. Hye-jin is the foremost wonderful young lady in school. Within the morning, it was as of now late for the meet. When entering the lift, there was an cumbersome circumstance. Clearly, she ran in to begin with, but at that point another excellent young lady came in afterward, causing the lift to report it an overburden, but the young lady imagined to disregard it. No one said anything. This young lady constrained Hye-jin to induce out of the lift herself, but all of a sudden the excellent young lady was pushed out by a mysterious individual. At that point he called Hye-jin in, much obliged, to which she was able to form it in time for the meet. The questioner inquired her approximately her involvement, but why she couldn't work any place for more than 3 months. Hye-jin didn't waver to reply right absent, since her boss was captured by the police, or the company all of a sudden went bankrupt. Her fair reply made other candidates giggle. The questioner was moreover powerless. There's no result of the mail report, however, but Hye-jin too knows the result in progress. But that night she was still holding up for a reaction mail. She got in the mail as in the event that the sender was Sung-joon, her fat companion from the past. This unforeseen reaction made Hye-jin upbeat all night. The following night, she running energetically to the assembly put, she saw a fat fellow sitting on a chair eating. Hye-jin cheerfully ran up and slapped the fat fellow on the bear, to call her companion title. At that point she held his hand and said he didn't alter anything. But the fat fellow looked at her skeptically. He inquired who she was and in case they knew each other. At this point, Hye-jin knew she had mixed up the individual. Her phone rang. It was Sung-joon called. At the same time, a good-looking fellow appeared before her, who was moreover replying the phone. What stunned Hye-jin was that each sentence he said coordinated the voice interior her phone. The fat companion Sung-joon, you know, is this. This fabulous change made she greatly stunned. Her whole body appeared solidified in put. That good-looking fellow was waving at her. Didn't he recognize her? But suddenly, he passed by her. He came to welcome the wonderful young lady behind her. He didn't recognize her since Hye-jin utilized to be an excellence that thousands of individuals adored. How seemed she be this revolting duckling with wavy hair? That made her pull back into herself and not have the boldness to call Sung-joon. Hye-jin covered up in a corner and observed Sung-joon stupefied when he recognized the off-base individual. Hye-jin returned absent-mindedly when she happened to meet her best companion Hari. Looking at best companion appeared despondent. Hari had lived with her for numerous a long time, moreover caught on the issue. Hye-jin said she was now not commendable of Sung-joon. In his memory, she was continuously an excellent understudy. So on the off chance that she showed up presently in this ugly frame, he would be exceptionally disillusioned. Hari didn't think much. She unquestionably strolling before Sung-joon to welcome him. Looking at the excellent young lady, Sung-joon grinned and called Ian's title and after that personally embraced her. At this minute, Jin seemed truly as it were stand from a remote place and see at them with a feeling of unease with pitiful eyes. She taken after the two of them to the eatery. Sunday-jun's lovesick eyes were stuck to Hari since he thought she was Hye-jin. That made her bashful. He begun inquiring around Hari's current work, but these questions were all anticipated by Hye-jin. So she instructed Hari how to reply. So Hari as it were had to rehash the things she knew by heart. But there were moreover questions that were not as arranged. Hari didn't know how to reply. Hye-jin behind her was extremely stressed. She ceaselessly utilized her body dialect to educate Hari how to reply. But her companion didn't get it. So Hari didn't get it. The reply was vacillating and a bit confounded. But Sung-joon still didn't realize anything was off base. Much appreciated to Hye-jin's steady back, Hari replied all the childhood stories accurately that as it were Hye-jin and Sung-joon knew. He truly said thanks to Hye-jin for bringing light to his dull life. He said thanks to her for not abandoning him, and she made a difference him recapture trust in life. He said this to Hari, but made Hye-jin behind him amazingly touched. This was too considered an awesome consolation to her. At the conclusion of the feast, Hari did as Hye-jin said. She said tomorrow she had to go overseas to ponder, and she wouldn't be able to see Sun-joon any longer. He was baffled when he listened that. His to begin with Cherish had as it were met for a couple of hours and had to be isolated, making Sun-joon incapable to acknowledge it. Hari wrapped up her assignment. She was approximately to run absent when he called her back. He needed her to hold up for him for 5 minutes. He ran to the store to purchase something. He carefully wrapped it in a blessing box and gave it to Hari. Sun-joon wiped his hands clean, and needed to shake hands with his to begin with Cherish for the final time. He all of a sudden embraced her firmly, not willing to let go, whereas Hye-jin looked at the two of them tragically within the corner. One fine day, Hye-jin was still doing chores for the company as normal. She incidentally bumped into the fiendish boss, fell into Sung-joon's arms, making her heart beat speedier. She stammered to thank him, but seeing that she hadn't stood up however, he let go of his hand, causing her to drop to the ground. He too said that she had issues with her intellect and eyes. At that point he cleared out, entered the lift. Hye-jin chosen not to persevere any longer. She got this position since she passed the meet with her possessed capacity. Everybody will make botches in their work, but why does he loathe her so much? Sung-joon still keeps up his pompous demeanor, criticized Hye-jin for being a beginner, stammering in her discourse. Her ability and involvement conjointly working fashion were not commendable of the title Hye-jin. It turned out that he paid consideration to her since she had the same title as her respectable to begin with Cherish of him. This made Hye-jin greatly irate. He did not recognize her and indeed challenged to loathe her. In that case, she would not take off that company. She had to be by his side each day to form him insane. The following day, Hye-jin went to the company without any fear and challenged to criticize her boss with colleagues. She says he's not good-looking, his identity is abnormal, his confront is continuously in a scowl. So it's not genuine that he doesn't have friends. He's hello there. Jin proceeded to talk sick. She didn't realize Sun-joon was standing behind her. When she turned around and saw his confront, she shouted uproariously. The colleagues who were chatting with her fair turned a dazed eye and maintained a strategic distance from him. They cleared out Howdy Jin alone with the demon. Sun-joon didn't care. He pulled the documents from beneath her butt and blew the tidy, and after that he cleared out. Nowadays, he was examining trade with his accomplice at a tall conclusion lodging. When he inadvertently found that Hari moreover worked there, he pulled her hand and Daff inquired why she hadn't as of now examined overseas. Hari rapidly embraced Sun-joon so she might toss her title tag absent, but her colleague picked it up. This fellow called her was the executive, so she couldn't mislead Sun-joon any longer. Hari said it was genuine that she had traveled to Europe, but all of a sudden she got a great work at this lodging, so she remained in Korea to do it without having time to tell Sun-joon. Luckily, he is no question upbeat, since he is almost to see Hye-jin frequently. When he ought to the company, he proceeded to encourage his subordinates to meet to examine the unused thought, but no matter what they said, he wouldn't endorse. Until the group pioneer told Hye-jin to turn on the projector to get ready for the introduction. But since she was too nervous, she held the driven light Sung-joon's confront. She held the other one, and after that and turned on the shining headlights that appeared on his confront once more, which made other colleagues incapable to halt snickering, but fortunately she was still able to turn on the projector. At the conclusion of the assembly, Shin H realized that Hagen was exceptionally perplexed of the appointee editor, so he remained and prodded her, making her run away. Indeed, more quickly, which made him feel that she was truly charming. When Sung-joon asked to bring today's assembly report to him, Hye-jin froze and inquired for offer assistance from other colleagues. She inquired them to clarify to her a few specialized terms, but everybody was active, so she had to bring a report with numerous mistakes, causing Sung-joon to chasten her. He criticized her for her destitute understanding. She must have gone through the back door to get this work. This explanation harmed Hye-jin profoundly. She clarified that she passed the position of the department help administration, but was sent by the group pioneer to the magazine room to work. She is attempting exceptionally difficult to memorize mold wording and not go through the back door. Sung-joon didn't care, he fair needed to work with experts. So on the off chance that Hye-jin proceeded like that, he would fire her, he tossed her, report straight on the ground and chase her out. He indeed murmured, "Who let this kind of individual in here?" Hye-jin felt too bad for herself and had to go to the distribution center to sort the products with Mina. But she didn't know the title of the makeup. She indeed experienced Sung-joon to check the equip, at that point returned to the workplaces. She was deceived by Shin Hyuk into hitting her head on a noodle bundle. Everybody here bullied her. Hye-jin returned to the help administration room and needed to remain here. At slightest here, she might clean the house and pour tea, do anything, as long as she doesn't be detested. But within the conclusion, the chief still sent her to the mold group to work, not long after returned. Hye-jin was dragged absent. Afterward, Fair saw her embracing a heap of things and proceeding to do errands, turning like a pinwheel all day long, until late at night, when she got off work. She was gesturing off on the transport, since she was so tired. But seeing ancient individuals, she still volunteered to let her put for that ancient lady. Hye-jin went domestic and complained to her best companion, thought she would be comforted. But she was told by Hari until she woke up. Specialized phrasing, so each industry was diverse. She couldn't confound it with ordinary life. So Hari told her to work within the mold world, to memorize by herself to begin with. It was ordinary for her bosses to reprove her subordinates. She always said she was attempting, or Fair attempting to. It would be ideal if you Sung-joon. From the day she arrived, has she effectively studied any magazines within the mold group, or are you, Fair, inquiring others what usually and what that's? She doesn't proactively create yourself, but continuously fault others for making things troublesome for her and didn't offer assistance her. These words made Hye-jin lie wakeful all night. At that point she realized she was off base. That night, she took the activity to go to Hari's mold bookshelf. She looked for a magazine with notes. Out of the blue, Hari knew that Hye-jin would discover it, and examined it. So she took a note to cheer her companion up. Hari guaranteed to assist Hye-jin create herself, and so Hye-jin started her travel of learning almost design. On her way to work investigate, go domestic at night and learn more approximately Hari's equip, coordination information. She learned approximately beauty care products, conjointly practiced looking at dress to figure brand names and combinations of passers-by. Much obliged, to which she learned mold information. Hye-jin's execution was essentially made strides. She was too more certain in her work and was lauded by the fussy editor-in-chief. She was able to listen and get at the difficult terms within the meeting. The report she submitted, Sung-joon, is additionally much more culminate. It's fair that Hye-jin is still clumsy with her hands and feet. Shin Hyuk keeps demanding after work that she welcomes him to eat fiery rice cakes. Hye-jin doesn't get it how near she has been to this person, since he keeps clinging to her. But within the conclusion, she still had no choice. When eating, Shin Hyuk purposely froze and spilled sauce on him and Hye-jin. He needed to appear her that she's not the as it were one who is clumsy, so do not be as well pitiful. Hye-jin was still frequented by the editor-in-chief's words that she had to change her appearance, so she arranged to plan a small. The result of reaching to the company the following day made Sung-joon amazingly astounded. Nowadays, the mold group was doled out by Sung-joon to be the driver, taking him to the airplane terminal to choose accomplice. No one needs to be near to a troublesome boss, but all of a sudden Hye-jin volunteered to require the work. Really, she was being played with by Sung-joon. By Shin Hyuk. He said there was a gap in her armpit, so she raised her hand to see at precisely 4 p.m. Sung-joon got into the car and the car left. He raised his head to see within the raised view mirror and was startled. He inquired, do you've got a driver's permit? Hye-jin unquestionably replied that she got 100 focuses in hypothesis. But within the common sense portion, she nearly fizzled, but still passed. Indeed, in spite of the fact that she abhorred this boss, she still attempted to discover an amusing theme to conversation almost, but he disregarded her, making her exceptionally irate. Hye-jin drove, but Sung-joon didn't tell her which air terminal it was, so she drove to the most remote put. By the time he found out, they were as of now on the interstate one-way. On the off chance that they need to turn around, you have got to rapidly get to the toll booth. But the street ahead is stuck with activity. It's exceptionally troublesome to welcome a celebrated craftsman. In case they miss it this time, they won't have a moment chance. Knowing that it was her blame, Hye-jin rapidly got out of the car. She ran to the road merchant. She asked him to be the driver to require Sung-joon to the airplane terminal to choose up the individual to begin with. Sometime recently Sung-joon may think, Hye-jin snatched cap in his head. At that point he was taken absent by that individual. The talented sales representative maneuvered through a long line of stuck cars and effectively got Sung-joon out of the traffic stick. By the time Hye-jin ought to the airplane terminal, everything had been orchestrated affirm. She moreover felt more consoled. But Sung-joon was still irate and reproved her for being careless. Hye-jin solidified. It was clear that prior she attempted exceptionally difficult to inquire Sung-joon to take off where he was going, but he overlooked her. So Hye-jin blocked Sung-joon's car entryway and yelled at him. She abhorred the kind of individual who just felt that others were a small second rate to her and begun to detest them like him. After saying that, she closed the car entryway and carried 2 huge sacks of rice cakes and went domestic on her claim. Hye-jin was intoxicated. The individual sitting at the drinking table with her was Shin Hye-jin had fair wrapped up work. He propped his chin up and looked at her ruddy, tanked confront and grinned. Abruptly he needed to bother her, so she seemed listen and swear for fun. Hye-jin was truly tanked. She nearly told her mystery between me and Sung-joon. Let Shin Hye-jin know. Fortunately she was as well inebriated, so she passed out and didn't uncover anything. He had to require her home on the way. Hye-jin was like a bovine, almost to smash into another individual. At that point she sat down on the ground and purged all the things in her stash and took out her phone to call Sung-joon. As before long as he associated the phone, Hye-jin shouted at him and reproved him that he was an awful individual. At that point she uncovered that her personality was Hye-jin, but he remained calm without any shocks. At that point he inquired her in the event that she was tanked and ought to she go domestic rapidly. The following morning when woke up, Hye-jin was holding the bed and spewing brutally from she learned from Hurry's words final. Another night that Shin Hye took her domestic, she spewed all over him. After hearing that Hye-jin was exceptionally humiliated, at that point she all of a sudden realized that her lovely companion was wearing long pants nowadays. So recently Sung-joon reminded Hari that it was cold, so do not wear brief dress, fair since she need to see pleasant. She didn't tune in to her father, but did as Sung-joon said. Recently, when was drinking coffee, he listened the server regret, and knew that once he was concentrated he wouldn't listen anybody say anything. So running the off-base way was to his blame, but he faulted it all on Tall Jin. Nowadays, the editor-in-chief, in arranged to celebrate their collaboration with a popular craftsman much obliged to Sung-joon, and held a party requiring all workers to take an interest. Sung-joon didn't need to drink, but was constrained to drink by the editor-in-chief. Between drinking himself and utilizing the blade with the editor-in-chief, Sung-joon instantly picked up the glass of wine and drank it all in one swallow. His confront was exceptionally calm, and he stood up to take off. But when Hye-jin and Shin Hye-jin came out, they saw him blacking out on the floor. 2 kind individuals took Sung-joon back to his lodging. Shin Hye-jin was parched, so he constrained Hye-jin to go to Sung-joon's fridge to urge water. As it were at that point did she find that it was full of mineral water. She was stressed approximately Sung-joon, since in arranged to lose weight, he as it were drank water. Whereas considering, Hye-jin realized that she cleared out her phone in Sung-joon's room. Interior were all photographs of her and Hari together, so she utilized all her brainpower to think of the secret word to open the door, but all fizzled. Within the conclusion, much obliged to her and Sam-joon's ancient journal, she was able to discover the watchword to open the entryway. Hye-jin discreetly entered the room. Luckily, he was still resting. So she got her phone back. At that time at the inn overseen by Hari, there was a visitor who leased a VIP room. He inquired to keep the music player, but did not come to choose it up, since he may be a VIP visitor. So Hari personally brought the player to return it. Within the hallway, she met a messy-dressed man, so she quickly dragged him out. Suddenly, it was a VIP visitor. Indeed, more shocking, that individual was Cinny, the big-shot boy who went to work for energy within the legend. It was him. Returning to Hye-jin, she didn't leave right absent since she was active looking at the astound that was lost a bit. It was an excellent memory that she and Sung-joon had put together when they were children, when Hye-jin was approximately to touch it. Sung-joon was as of now awake, and he abruptly showed up behind her. He frightened her and startled her, causing her to thump over the confused within the glass cage. He was anxious that she would step on broken glass. He pulled her into his arms. He inquired her why she showed up in his room. She broke his portrait to vindicate for what happened the other day at the airplane terminal. Nowadays, Hye-jin's guardians were cooking, so Hari came to eat. Her family considered Hari like a girl. After wrapping up the supper, Hye-jin went to her room to look once more. Whereas looking at her ancient assets, she accidentally discovered a lost astound piece in a children's book she composed herself. Energetic recollections returned. Sung-joon himself gave the umbrella-formed confused piece to her. He guaranteed her the day he returned, and he will gotten to be an umbrella to secure her. But presently, one individual didn't set out to say it. One individual didn't recognize it. On the way back, Hye-jin gotten a phone call from Khalid, inquiring her to come to the office to total the report for this Khalid, since this Khalid was active to excellent schedule. Hye-jin moreover concurred, making Hari Fair need to defeat her. When Hye-jin wrapped up her work, she was doodad, so she went to Sung-joon's office, and she inadvertently broke the mannequin's arm. She didn't anticipate that he would come to work at the company so late, scaring Hye-jin into covering up within the closet. As a result, she learned that the foremost Korean magazine was almost to be suspended in case it was not exceedingly successful. Presently, she understands why Sung-joon continuously puts weight on everybody. She's so cautious, but within the conclusion he still finds out. She guarantees not to conversation around it, so he fair let her go. Looking at the inept young lady, he was not perplexed of her, revealing the mystery, and Hye-jin didn't realize she had dropped the confused piece before his room entryway. It appeared like Sung-joon didn't know. He went to the exercise center and met Hari, who had fair wrapped up preparing, but she abruptly needed to spend more time with him, so she lied that she had fair come since he didn't ride a car at the conclusion of the preparing session. Hari took him domestic sometime recently, progressing to his room. Sung-joon found that Hari's eyelashes had fallen, so he carefully picked them up for her. He too reminded her to do what they used to do when they were children, which is to create a wish, which made Hari both chuckle and stressed. Returning domestic, she all of a sudden felt too bad for Hye-jin. Hari took advantage of Hye-jin's personality to be with her to begin with cherish. The following day, Hye-jin and Sung-joon went to work together. It's still a commonplace saying, "Green light as of now, let's go," but this time he was able to take note her nearness. When she arrives at the company, Hye-jin finds that she has dropped a confused piece closed Sung-joon's office, afraid that he would see it, so she had to discover it to begin with. She slithered on the floor, make startle her colleagues, but he had as of now ventured on a perplexed piece to induce into his office. Hye-jin instantly acknowledged conveyance assignment. At that point she imagined to drop the right to twist down to choose it up, really attempting to take a confused piece from the sole of Sung-joon's shoe. But his foot kept moving until he bowed down to startle Hye-jin. He chased her out. He didn't go out until 12. At that time, a stound piece moreover fell out. When he turned around, Shin-hyuk rapidly embraced him and took a stound piece absent. It turned out that prior Shin-hyuk had listened Hye-jin portray the piece to the cleaning woman. And the night sometime recently, he too inadvertently listened the character of Hye-jin's to begin with cherish. So, he made a difference her cover-up Sung-joon to expressing gratitude toward Hye-jin for welcoming Shin-hyuk to eat grill. She indeed concurred to be sister-brothers meet rolling sister. Whereas Hari was at the homeroom looking forward to Sung-joon's appearance, she didn't know when she begun paying consideration to him. But he didn't come, so she might as it were take off to begin with. She went to the comfort store to purchase things and incidentally met Shin-hyuk, clearly a wealthy fellow, but he didn't have sufficient cash to pay for the moment noodles, so Hari had to pay in step as in statement of regret for the day sometime recently she considered him destitute. Looking at Shin Hyuk's carefree way of eating, Hari criticized. But at that point she was the same individual who ate noodles like him, and she indeed commented on how tasty it was. At this time, Hye-jin called. The two of them concurred to walk domestic together, considering the three of them would run into each other. But Shin Hyuk had returned to the lodging some time. Recently Hye-jin showed up. Returned to typical schedule, Hye-jin was moreover calling Shin Hyuk for offer assistance. She inquired him to bring the porridge was brought to Sung-joon for her. In trade, she would acknowledge his three demands unequivocally. In trade for this, the trade had this advantage, so Shin Hyuk promptly concurred. He brought the porridge to Sung-joon's inn, but was misconstrued by the D. Security watch. He was an escort boy. When he needed to the entryway, he experienced Hari. She clarified that her companion was debilitated, so she cleared out him behind. Shin Hyuk didn't think much. He went to Sung-joon's room, and utilized the room card from the past day to open the door and saw a heap of astounded pieces within the jolt. He moreover caught on the issue. Looking at Sung-joon in a coma, Shin Hyuk uncovered Hye-jin's genuine personality. At that point he poured a bowl of porridge full of vinegar cooked by Hari and supplanted it with the porridge. Hye-jin inquired him to bring arrive. Shin Hyuk initially planning to go domestic, but saw Sung-joon's fever was as well tall, so he had to remain and beware. The another morning, Sung-joon woke up to see a man appearing within the house and was amazingly frightened. Shin Hyuk said, Hye-jin inquired him come here and beware of Sung-joon. He didn't break in on his claim, and he cleared out in such a rush that he didn't bring a altar of dress, so he borrowed Sung-joon's clothing incidentally. He'll return it right absent. Hearing that, Sung-joon got goosebumps. He too gave Shin Hyuk that clothing. After a whereas, he texted Hari to thank Hari for the bowl of porridge. He misjudged that it was porridge she cooked for him, since was within the rain with Sung-joon. So Hye-jin got sick at work today. Having a cold isn't a little thing. Each sniffle she makes alarms her co-laborers, and Sung-joon looks at him and feels amazingly blameworthy. After all, it is since of him that she features a cold. And recently, she protected him from the rain, making him feel like he was with his first adore once more. He surged to the drugstore to purchase cold pharmaceutical, and after that returned to the company to go to Hye-jin's specialist desk. But, as before long as he saw somebody passing by, he rapidly stowed away the medication, at that point went someplace else. He demanded on keeping the picture of the unapproachable appointee editor-in-chief. By the time he made up his intellect to provide pharmaceutical to Hye-jin, somebody had as of now done it. Shin Hyuk did not waver to apply a fever-decreasing fix to Hye-jin. He too gave her a charming cat cover. Seumjin couldn't grant cleanliness pharmaceutical, so he got irate and faulted her for not giving him the report. At that point he furiously tossed absent the pharmaceutical sack. At 12, Sung-joon inquired Hari to eat to thank her bowl of porridge, but it downpoured once more. That's why he found that she wasn't perplexed of the rain like his to begin with a door. On the opposite, she truly preferred it, since when was youthful Hari was able to play with her mother within the rain. Hari realized something bizarre and rapidly clarified, everyone has changes. Back within the office, it was time to urge off work. As regular, everybody cleared out all the work for Hye-jin to do, and she was as well utilized to being bullied, so she took on all the work, since she had a cold, and had to require pharmaceutical that Shin Hyuk gave her. She couldn't open her eyes, so she fell sleeping. Sung-joon seen that scene and abruptly ran to assist her. He was stressed and turned off the call to maintain a strategic distance from exasperating Hye-jin's rest. There was a colleague within the company who hadn't returned however and was wearing a cover to frighten others. Sung-joon was frightened and sat on Hye-jin's lap. When he realized it, he fumblingly clarified and cleared out. He himself couldn't get it, his expression fair no longer as it were that Sung-joon moreover taken after Hye-jin domestic, he couldn't rest guaranteed when he saw her napping off. Seeing her take that transport, he moreover got on the transport following time and sat another to her. He discreetly let Hye-jin incline on his shoulder to rest, but still had nobility, so he utilized a daily paper to cover his confront so she wouldn't recognize him. At waiting for Hye-jin to induce out of the car, he furtively looked at her a small, as it were. Sung-jin went on a commerce trip together. Went to the eatery. Sung-joon requested 2 of the most costly dinners. Hye-jin tries to caution him that the cost of rice is costly, but he still maintains a scornful demeanor. Said that She kept her mouth closed and as it were ate since he would pay, but he did not know that. His wallet had been cleared out at the company. He relaxed wearing the swimming outfit-formed cook's garment that the proprietor gave him, making Hye-jin ought to hold back her giggling whereas eating. It wasn't until he paid that he realized he overlooked to bring his wallet. Presently he raised his voice at Hye-jin. Presently he had to inquire her for cash. But Hye-jin was destitute. The proprietor had swiped her card numerous times and still brief of 40,000 in meat cash. Sung-joon utilized his tall conclusion silk scarf as collateral, but the proprietor didn't care on the off chance that it was in a French or American collection. She as it were required 40,000 in cash. Sung-joon called Han-so, inquired her in case she was there however, but she said she was misplaced. In truth, she needed to make uncommon minutes with June Charm. This trip she'd unquestionably have the wealthy youthful man, but she didn't know that this was a fake youthful ace. Hye-jin called Hari, but she didn't choose up. Hye-jin called Shin Hyuk once more and columnist Cha replied the phone, but Hye-jin let the boss clarify the circumstance. Out of the blue, that made correspondent Cha misconception that it was a trick and denying to exchange cash. The boss got irate and honed her knife. The two individuals knew they didn't have cash to pay, so they worked for her for a day. So, from a good-looking appointee editor-in-chief. Presently Sung-joon has got to wear purple pants and a flawless blue shirt to clean up dairy animals' excrement. So on the way domestic, she opened up and told him the reason she treasured this card, since it was the primary card to compose her title as an official worker of a huge company. To him, it was nothing, but to her, it was an accomplishment. He moreover told her that the thing that had extraordinary meaning to him was the bovine excrement. She incidentally broke. To others, it was a astound with the final piece lost, but to him, it was a memory more valuable than gold. This made Hye-jin exceptionally touched, but afterward he raised his hand to request emolument, making her amazingly astounded. This mission will final 2 days and 1 night to select an area for the solo travel subject. At the company Shin-yue called Junwoo to discover out that he and Hanseo were misplaced. So Hye-jin and Sung-joon were living together. He didn't set out to suppose the scene of the two of them being insinuate. Hari called both Sung-joon and Hye-jin and found out almost this. All of a sudden, she felt envious and stressed. At this minute, Hye-jin and Sung-joon are talking about how to select a course and how they feel almost traveling alone. Out of the blue, she seemed tell precisely what he was feeling when he was traveling alone, which was depression and needing to type in a letter to an vital individual. This made Sung-joon open up approximately the time he was alone in America. Indeed, in spite of the fact that he was bullied, he still lived resiliently since he had a letter of back from his companion in Korea. But at that point, one day, he didn't get her letter any longer. He was shattered for a long time. Hye-jin listened that and remained quiet. It's difficult to say she didn't conversation around this any longer, but ran to play with the shoreline. Sung-joon clearly needed to require pictures of her. But when he was found, he modestly turned absent. At that point, he furtively observed her from a far distance, when the two of them, sitting together to eat. Sung-joon didn't know when he continuously opened up to this young lady he loathed. She knew the wouldn't confuse and the tune that, as it were he and his to begin with adore knew. The two of them kept on conversation exceptionally well. It was like two soulmates had fair recognized each other after a long time separated. It wasn't until late at night that the staff had to tenderly remind them that the store was closed, so the two of them can be pulled back from their possessed space. After this decade-long story, Sung-joon regarded Hye-jin more. He moreover seemed not envision that he might openly tell her the torment of the past. The story that he had never told Hari, who he still erroneously thought was his to begin with cherish. Hye-jin was cheerful to realize that her inviting fat friend had not vanished. Presently, he was fair attempting to adapt with having to be autonomous. Considering almost this all of a sudden, Hye-jin needed to tell Sung-joon her genuine character. She needed to share depression with him, not waver to keep him company to let him know he was not alone in this world. But when she was almost to say, at that point Shin Hyuk showed up. He was perplexed that something would happen to the two of them alone that would cause him to lose Hye-jin. So he brought his rucksack to act as a light bulb to hinder them to create beyond any doubt. Sung-joon abhorred Shin Hyuk, so he cleared out promptly, but when he listened Shin Hyuk welcomed Hye-jin to go drinking he didn't come back. He demanded on going with them at the drinking table. Shin Hyuk kept talking approximately clothing. Shin Hyuk cleared out in such a rush nowadays that he overlooked to bring clothing, so he kept on borrow Sun-joon's, making Sun-joon amazingly powerless, and Hye-jin couldn't offer assistance but chuckle. But for a few reasons, Shin Hyuk always attempted to be hint with Hye-jin to create Sun-joon irate. Indeed, in spite of the fact that he was irate, Sung-joon had to imagine to be calm and incapable to do anything when Shin Hyuk dropped a fake insect into Hye-jin's hand, making her shout. Sung-joon couldn't stand it. Sung-joon hit Shin Hyuk on the head, causing him to be woozy, but since drank brew, Sung-joon woke up a small and after that swooned. Transcripts given by Translation Outsourcing, LLC. And Indeed said, "Great morning to colleagues. This makes everybody feel new." On the opposite, Shin Hyuk despises this exceptionally much. That night when they went out to eat, Hye-jin told him that she expecting to uncover her character to Sung-joon, which made him a small anxious and pitiful. At that point, let him tell her the picture of his misplaced puppy. He saw it as a sister. Presently he too sees Hye-jin as that, but not a sister, but a puppy. Shin Hyuk too communicated, continuously told her that he preferred her. He preferred her fair, clumsy, but kind individual. And this made Hye-jin befuddled and thought he was kidding. The louder he yelled, "I like you," the more she needed to run absent. At the same time, Seum-jun was too strolling with Hari. She inquired him tragically, on the off chance that she weren't his best companion when he was a child, would he proceed to go with her like this? This made Seum-jun dazed. On the off chance that he weren't a near companion, he wouldn't be near to Hari. Sometime recently holding up for him to reply, she turned around and kissed him on the lips to precise her sentiments. This scene incidentally seen by Shin Hyuk. At this minute, he knew that the individual Hari did not set out to cherish was Sung-joon. He did not let Hye-jin see over, but embraced her firmly. In the event that Hari had the strength to discover a door, he would too attempting to hold on to this feeling. As for Sung-joon, he did not promptly reply her confession, but driven her to the put where they utilized to draw pictures of themselves on it within the past. Hari clearly communicated pity. She did not need to. Sung-joon specified that excellent past once more, since in that past there was no her. That to begin with a door was not her. Sam-joon did not say anything. He drew a picture of him within the show, Hari. He said he won't conversation approximately the past any longer. Presently it's fair the show, affirm? Shin Hyuk came to her house and welcomed her to work as his partner for a day, and go with him to require scene photographs to use as composing fabric. She was almost to deny, but he quickly tied up the truth that she had guaranteed to fulfill his 3 demands, plus a liberal compensation, so Hye-jin, go immediately. The total day said she was aiming to work, but she had fun, being with Shin Hyuk. Hye-jin had no weight and not being reproved. When progressing to work, Shin Hyuk appeared Sung-joon Hye-jin's planned thoughts. As it were her basic but inventive considering can fulfill him. But he chased her absent. He was initially a judicious individual. But why did he lose his mood when confronting Hye-jin like that? Shin Hyuk inquired on the off chance that he preferred her. Sung-joon couldn't say anything for a whereas. At that point inquired Sung-joon back to Shin Hyuk. What almost you? Shin Hyuk, without faltering, said that I like Hye-jin. At that point Shin Hyuk told Sung-joon to go apologize and welcome Hye-jin back to the company to work. At night, Sung-joon brought Hye-jin's thought and held up for her at the transport halt, but he didn't set out let her see. He's subtly taken after her domestic, expects to call her, but fair a little sound frightened him covered up in a corner, but stowed away for as well long and his legs harmed, so he carelessly fell down the slide. He halted right before Hye-jin, so he had to sit and conversation genuinely with her. He lauded her in used and open thought, and inquired her to return to the company, but she quickly denied. She permitted him to utilize her thoughts, but she might not return to work, since that environment did not have a place to her. Besides, working with him made her exceptionally awkward. But the genuine reason behind why Jin strongly denied the work was since her previous division head presented her to another work. But the following morning, no one called to tell her to go to work. So Jin called the division head to inquire. At that point she learned that her position had been cancelled. She fair needed to cry. Recently she had fair rejected Sung-joon. Presently, she was kicked out of the position she connected for. The house ran out of rice. Her father's printing plant too had issues, so she couldn't go back to her guardian's house. Whereas Hye-jin was pitiful, the communications supervisor said that the third party had changed their intellect, almost tolerating her working. At the same time, Sung-joon moreover sent a photo of the onion crying. Hye typically have made a decision for herself. After a whereas, the foremost magazine did not have. Hye-jin did chores that made everything active and befuddling, considering that no one would reply the phone. But a commonplace voice rang out, "Hi, I'm Hye-jin." But she came back with a totally distinctive interface, more lovely and appealing, making everybody shocked to have an idealized appearance like hers. Presently, Hye-jin had to spend a huge sum of cash. She moreover buys dress and magnificence, learns how to create up. Colleagues saw Hye-jin once more and cheerfully embraced her. Presently that she's back, Hye-jin's modern indeed the editor-in-chief had to compliment her. Except for Shin Hyuk, feel just like the ancient Hye-jin was the foremost lovely. Sitting down to conversation together, he realized that the reason she returned to the company was to work difficult to create cash. She needed to gather cash to purchase her father's printing production line, an unused printer, to form her life superior. Additionally, she totally did not specify uncovering her character to Sung-joon. Amid the thought assembly, she strongly expressed her contemplations. Rather than having celebrated models put on ravishing luxurious outfits, turn the highlight on standard individuals who noiselessly devote, such as workers and coordinations divisions, since they are moreover the most characters who too merit to sparkle. After hearing this thought, everybody reacted exceptionally excited, and that's what Sung-joon needed. At last, after numerous gatherings, he finalized Hye-jin's thought. Standard individuals all merit to gotten to be the shining primary characters of their lives. At the conclusion of the assembly, Sung-joon returned the scratchpad and ancient representative card to Hye-jin. He trusted she would adhere with him and the company for a long time. Returned to Hari since need to cover up her feelings and the truth almost herself. Her body caused her to have serious stomach torment. She swooned within the comfort store, but fortunately Shin Hyuk took her to the hospital. The specialist analyzed that the cause of the sickness was because she couldn't eat well and rest well due to weight. The foremost magazines to begin with enormous occasion has at last arrived. That day numerous famous actors and models gone to, but Sung-joon had not however arrived. When Hye-jin driven the way for the have, she realized that it was downpouring intensely exterior, so he was late. Tune into this, she amazingly stressed almost Sung-joon. The ceremony started. The MC appeared active pictures of the magazine staff to thank them for their endeavors in today's ceremony. But the conclusion of this opening will come, Sung-joon's English discourse, but he still hadn't arrived. When everybody was stressed, the editor-in-chief showed up. She mixed up the arrange with her interesting voice and brought her claim fashion to the appear program. The reason was to purchase more time for Sung-joon. She didn't know English, so she told the staff to run English subtitles. The editor-in-chief's discourse was exceptionally empowering. She was a bit like Sung-joon, increasing in value the endeavors of the staff beneath her command. In the interim, Sung-joon some way or another overcame his fear of rain and ran to the put in time. Seeing that the editor-in-chief's discourse gotten a parcel of gatherings of people, excited reaction too made him less stressed. The editor-in-chief wrapped up her, fabulous discourse. She went out to meet Sung-joon. He over and over apologized without being able to protect himself any advance, seeing him like that, so she didn't inquire anything more and cleared out. As it were, Hye-jin caught on Sung-joon's enduring, but she didn't know what position she ought to utilize to consolation him. She seemed as it were remain noiseless and sit there with him. Hye-jin is more often than not delicate, but presently confronted with Sung-joon's terrible words from her colleagues, she furiously stood up and chastened them. Sung-joon showed up. He listened everything but did not need Hye-jin to cause inconvenience with everybody, so he told her to go to a corner and snickered and expressed gratitude toward her for being on his side. At the magazine columnist, Cha needs to provide Hye-jin the opportunity to type in a piece, almost the pixie story theme she has been considering, almost so that she can overhaul herself and have a more grounded and dependable balance within the company. But Hye-jin was self-deterioration with her capacities, so she denies. When Sung-joon found out almost at that night, he taken after Hye-jin to the transport halt. He appeared her a photo of the god of opportunity. He energized her that the opportunity had come, but she didn't take it'll vanish. At that point it'll be as well late to lament. In life, you have got to challenge yourself to see how gifted you'll be. Hearing these words of support from him, Hye-jin said. The following morning, Hye-jin proactively opened her mouth to waves. Correspondent Cha. Hye-jin inquired columnist Cha to grant her another chance to compose a daily paper. She was decided to test her ability. Hye-jin returned in Sung-joon's car. He, carefully covering her with a cover, made her feel new. But after the embrace fair presently, Hye-jin was decided to tell Sung-joon the truth. So as before long as she arrived before the house, she took the car and taking after him all the way. She did not anticipate that when she arrived, she would witness the foremost terrible scene. Her best companion utilized her character to hoodwink her to begin with a door. He was betrayed by two ladies. This stun for Hye-jin was not little. She kept strolling capriciously on the street and crossing the swarmed cars. The horn sounded persistently, but she couldn't recognize it. Hye-jin Fair sat on the transport aiming to the final halt. Without realizing it, when the driver said she had fair gotten off the transport, she called to inquire Shin Week, where is here? What is the meaning of this life? Fair. Those two questions made Shin Hyuk instantly run to Hye-jin's side. He sat and tuned into her trust all her heart. At that point he took her domestic to her goal house. But shockingly for Hye-jin, he was fair a companion, or at most a brother, going into the house and confronting her companion who cheated on her. Hye-jin was still exceptionally calm. She told herself that Hari must be enduring, so she would wait until her companion conceded everything to her. Out of the blue, Hye-jin still kept the first duplicate of a confused piece. It turned out that the duplicate that Hari gave Sung-joon final time was fair a duplicate. From yesterday's embrace, that presently each time see Sung-joon Hye-jin can't calm down, she inquires Shin Hye-yu to imagine to conversation to her to remain absent from Sung-joon. At that point holds up for her colleagues to enter the assembly room sometime recently entering because she was perplexed of being alone with him. But amid the assembly, Sung-joon kept gazing at Hye-jin, making her exceptionally cumbersome. Regularly, after submitting the assembly minutes, Hye-jin would be instantly kicked out by Sung-joon, but nowadays he constrained her to sit back and hold up for him to wrap up perusing the minutes. He indeed came closer, and pulled her chair up higher to assist her, but this was a bit as well tall. Each time she looked at Sung-joon's confront, she recalled the embrace scene again, made her perplexed to disregard her work and run absent direly, but the more she maintained a strategic distance from, the more chances of assembly her. The editor-in-chief gave Jin the errand of conveying the suit straight to the house of Sung-joon. The editor-in-chief needed him to wear it so he may go to visitors with her following week. Hye-jin didn't need to do it, but she didn't set out to go against the editor-in-chief's wishes. She went to the lodging and inquired the assistant to deliver it to Sung-joon, but he showed up right behind her. She was frightened, but he still didn't let go. He demanded on welcoming Hye-jin into the room to drink tea, making her sorried and frightened. She took the container of tea and drank it rapidly, to urge domestic rapidly. But the tea was as well hot, so she couldn't drink it rapidly. But she didn't anticipate Sung-joon to confess, at this time, that he had extraordinary sentiments for Hye-jin. Since each time he was around her, he felt befuddled. And each time he was irate, for no reason, then vented his outrage on her. He was truly too bad. This stunned Hye-jin, and spilled tea all over himself. Sung-joon gave her his shirt to alter into. Sometime recently Hye-jin returned domestic. He astutely rolled up his sleeves to assist her and clarified. He had extraordinary sentiments for her because he felt like she was like an colleague of his, but the sentiments were dubious. It was troublesome to affirm whether they were adore or not. These words made Hye-jin shed tears. She truly needed to tell him that she was that colleague, but at that point she didn't say anything. She didn't hold up for him to urge the car keys and cleared out to begin with. Hye-jin went to see the portrait presentation of Sung-joon's favorite creator. Suddenly, she met him here. At this time, the two talked very comfortably. After Hye-jin wrapped up taking a photo for a few, they quickly advertised to require a picture for her and Sung-joon. She refused, but he gave them his phone specifically. He needed to require a photo with her alone, go out and make an arrangement with Sung-joon tomorrow, because she knows that today, Hari will concede her genuine personality to him. Similar to that, some minutes afterward, Hari called Sung-joon to meet today evening time, which, he moreover appeared to need told her almost his genuine sentiments for Hye-jin. When she returned to the company, from the words of her colleague, Hye-jin, know that the day sometime recently Shin Hyuk had a car mishap, since he was active running to search for her. But when she inquired, he said the motorbike was broken, so he had to urge it repaired, and his damage was fair a careless drop. Hye-jin chased after Shin Hyuk, needing to say thank you to him. But he utilized the 3 conditions she had guaranteed to meet to embrace her, as in the event that was moreover his final condition for her. He said he enjoyed Hye-jin, so he didn't need to be friends with her, but he couldn't do anything more than that. In the interim, Sung-joon went to the inn to explore for Hari, but he inadvertently found her genuine personality. In verse with his questioning eyes, she didn't know how to reply. She had aiming to tell the truth, but presently it was as well late. At this point, Hari couldn't make any more pardons. She conceded for the primary time she met Sun-joon since of Hye-jin's ask. But the following time, it was since she couldn't control her feelings towards him. She initially arranged to tell everything nowadays, but she didn't expect to let him know this way. Sun-joon did not reply whether he would excuse or not. He fair inquired Hari where his genuine Hye-jin was. Hari conceded that it was Hye-jin, the doltish young lady. In his eyes was moreover her best companion. Hari didn't hold back her sentiments, she fair trusted for Sung-joon's absolution. But he cleared out without looking back. Presently his intellect was filled with, as it were, the thought of planning to see Hye-jin. So much so, that he drove whereas driving crying. He faulted himself for not recognizing her sooner. In the meantime, Shin Hyuk once more confessed his adore to Hye-jin. Whereas Hye-jin was in a troublesome circumstance, Sun-joon called her, his voice trembling and calling her by a commonplace title that made her staggered. She realized he as of now knew everything. When Sun-joon said where she was, he needed to see her right presently. But Shin Hyuk too inquired Hye-jin not to take off, making her stand still between 2 greatly troublesome choices. But she has been holding up for her childhood companion for so long, so she seemed as it were apologized to Shin Hyuk and run absent, breaking Shin Hyuk's heart at the recognizable ruddy light before the company. 2 individuals with 2 hearts that beat at the same time met each other. They met confront to confront incalculable times, but this time the feeling was truly difficult to depict. An unbelievable bliss and joy that made them both giggle. Sung-joon faulted her for not telling him from the starting. He missed her so much, and because of his sentiments for her, he felt too bad for his companion. But at that point he apologized for realizing her as well late. Hye-jin was so choked up that she couldn't say a word. She seemed as it were shed tears of bliss. When they recognized each other, the 2 were comfortable strolling and trusting. Hye-jin said that at that time she felt as well self-cognizant. She was perplexed that her appearance would baffle him, so she absurdly hoodwinked him. But presently, in Sung-joon's eyes there was no fault, but as it were cherish for the primary adore he missed day and night. When Sung-joon said Hye-jin, caught on that, Hari had not told the truth to him, but since he realized it himself, maybe Hari was very panicked, so Hye-jin rapidly ran domestic with her companions. Confronting Hye-jin, Hari attempted to remain calm, and told her to go out and meet her companions. Everything was finished. But whereas afterward, Hye-jin inadvertently saw the letter that Hari planning to grant to Sung-joon. Hye-jin realized how forlorn her best companion was, and how missing in adore this companion was. The primary time Hari felt what genuine cherish was, but couldn't have it. She needed to grant up but couldn't bear it. Maybe Hari was exceptionally harmed, so Hye-jin rapidly ran out to discover companions. Undoubtedly, Hye-jin found her alone crying in a corner. The following day the 2 young ladies met attempting to act typical, but they knew they were both exceptionally unbalanced and Sung-joon was in much way better spirits this morning. He needed to hold Hye-jin's hand and run over the road, but she denied. That's why he realizing that she was purposely maintaining a strategic distance from her sentiments for him. That's right, Hye-jin didn't set out to cherish Sung-joon since of Hari, so presently she can as it were purposely see him as a companion. And he saw this, so he pulled her to the housetop to inquire for clarification. Hye-jin choked up and said words that inadvertently harmed Sung-joon's heart. Hye-jin truly needed to say, since Hari enjoyed him and Hari was moreover her companion, but she incapable to articulate a word, Sung-joon tragically cleared out. That night when returned domestic, Hye-jin saw Hari, in arranged to form herself disregard everything, she chose the ancient way of hanging out with terrible boyfriend. She was exceptionally grief-stricken and dragged her best companion into the house. Hye-jin faulted Hari for wrecking herself. Hadn't she as of now changed some time recently? But both of them clearly caught on that the altar was affected by Sung-joon. Hari felt sorry for herself and said she couldn't confront reality, she couldn't indeed see at Hye-jin's confront, since the feeling of blame was continuously tormenting her. Presently that the two of them couldn't be companions any longer, she would select to take off for distant absent. But Hye-jin said that the individual remaining there was her, so she would take off. After saying that, Hye-jin pressed her things and went to her guardian's house. But as before long as the entire family met, she inquired where Hari was. It can be seen that their family was exceptionally near to Hari. This made Hye-jin indeed more pitiful. But what she did not anticipate was that at this time, Sung-joon called her more youthful sister. And the more youthful sister sent him the address to come visit her house. Since, when the two of them were near, companions, so presently Hye-jin's guardians are not outsiders to Sung-joon. They fair feel that he is much more good-looking, and she is cumbersome and doesn't know what to do, eyeing her like that. Sung-joon needs to joke indeed more. He told Hye-jin's guardians that he and her had a developing relationship, which made her grandfather very cheerful. He whispered to his spouse to require out the bottle of wine he brewed final year to welcome his future child-in-law. Couldn't go against his father-in-law's word, so Sung-joon had to drink a drink. But 3 seconds afterward, he collapsed on the table, constraining her to let him rest at her house. Mr. and Mrs. Kim sat and looked at their future child-in-law. They complimented his confront, exceptionally well sharp, very reasonable for their girl. Hye-jin saw that and chased her guardians back to the room. But when they cleared out, she abruptly sat and looked at Sung-joon's nice-looking confront. At this minute, he abruptly woke up. The two of them clumsily didn't know what to say. Exterior, he inquired her the genuine reason why she treated him like that. His sentiments for her were not since she was her to begin with cherish, since some time recently he didn't know she was the genuine Hye-jin, but was still moved by her. Hye-jin said intensely that Hari enjoyed him exceptionally much. Hari is like a family part to her, so she can't harm this companion. I was meandering on the street. She met her natural mother. That year, her mother cleared out her with her father. Presently her organic mother needs her to come live with her. The mother has realized her botch in letting her girl live in depression, making Hari feel sorry for herself and not care almost her mother. The mother comes to discover Hye-jin's mother chatting and trusting. Mrs. Choi has long been isolated from her family and has her possessed career. Presently, she fair needs to require her girl to live with her, to form up for the adore she has needed for so long. But Hari kept disregarding her and constraining her to send a message. She was going overseas in a number of days. She trusted Hari may meet her once or go with her. Hari perused the message and faltered for a minute. But at that point Hari, still choosing to call her mother, Hari said she needed to eat the crab meat porridge her mother made. On the other hand, much obliged to the previous event, the foremost magazine rose to moment put. But compared to the competition, the primary put is exceptionally troublesome to require over. And however Shin Hyuk was grief-stricken and indeed thought of concurring to work for equal company, stunning all his colleagues. That night Sung-joon by and by went to discover Shin Hyuk to ask him to remain with the company. Sung-joon indeed uncovered data that in case the magazine does not win the best one position within the upcoming 20th commemoration, it'll be disbanded. But Shin Hyuk didn't reply right absent. The next day, Shin Hyuk didn't appear up for work. Hye-jin worriedly called the inn where he was remaining, but the assistant inquired the inverse. Does she know where Hari went? Since Hari stopped her work at the hotel and cut off contact with everybody. Hearing that Hye-jin surged back domestic but couldn't discover Hari, she ran to the airplane terminal once more. Considering having missed her best companion, Hye-jin sat down and burst into tears. She fair sat at the airplane terminal when Hari passed by. Hye-jin breathed a moan of help. Hari explained that she as it were went to the airplane terminal to see off her mother abroad, and she will still remain here to make up for the botches she made. With Hye-jin, just an embrace and a sentence like that is sufficient to create the fellowship between Hari and Hye-jin rejoin as sometime recently. When the colleagues saw Shin Hyuk's return, they excitedly invited him. Sung-joon still kept a cold confront and strolled out to relegate assignments to everybody, but since he had been beneath weight for a few days, so his nose was dying, so he was snatched by 2 colleagues and held his head up and down to halt the dying, losing all of his cool boss picture. Sung-joon didn't know how to urge out of their arms. Hye-jin was so stressed approximately him that she written on the console with an outsider sound that she didn't indeed know. At lunchtime, the colleagues made clamor and picked out everybody, giving Sung-joon a cerebral pain. Hye-jin was exceptionally stressed for him, so she had to seize the paper and deliver them her card to chase them out to eat. She indeed blocked the screenwriter's mouth like a bullhorn to secure Sung-joon's rest. Ensure Sung-joon one day. Hye-jin was at long last able to go domestic after work. Her more youthful sister came here to play with Hari. Her more youthful sister didn't know what happened, so she actually told almost Sung-joon coming to the house to be a tease with her more seasoned sister. Hye-jin was anxious that Hari would be pitiful, so she secured her more youthful sister's mouth. That night, Hari asserted to Hye-jin that she not cared approximately anything. She as it were needed Hye-jin to be upbeat. Hari empowers Hye-jin to grasp her bliss and come to Sung-joon. He held up before her entryway for an hour. He wavered whether to thump on the entryway or not. He was perplexed that assembly Hye-jin would feel ungainly. But in case he didn't see her, he missed her very much. So, within the conclusion, he chose to take off. At this minute, Hye-jin opened the window. But it was a moment absent, so she couldn't see him. The another day, Hye-jin brought the shoes that Hari gave her to the company. She chosen not to stow away any longer, but Sung-joon was greatly active that entirety day. Hye-jin fair required to tune in to what her colleagues said. Wherever he was, she quickly ran towards that put, but she was still a step moderate. She listened that he was picking up his accomplice at the air terminal, so she too ran to the airplane terminal. But for a minute, she still missed him. Interior, Hye-jin still holding up for Sung-joon, not knowing that he had collapsed before the air terminal. It was not until late at night that Hye-jin returned to the company from her colleague's words. She learned that Sung-joon had worked as well difficult, so he had blacked out and was presently taken to the healing center. She hurried out, but couldn't capture a taxi. Fortunately, Shin Hyuk drove to require her absent. As it were, Hye-jin strolled in. Shin Hyuk had truly let her go. He couldn't detain a heart that didn't belong to him. Kajin stood before Sung-joon's healing center bed, devastated, stroking his confront. At that point, all of a sudden, he pulled her down to lie following to her. Presently she didn't stow away any longer, and embraced him firmly. He and she conceded their long-standing sentiments. Sung-joon joyfully set a kiss on Hye-jin's lips, checking the starting of their cherished relationship. Individuals have cherish in a totally distinctive way. A few June is as a rule scowling, but nowadays when he went to work and had feathered creature droppings drop on his shirt, he was still able to grin, came to the company since he was charmed in looking at the records, and hammered his head into the lift entryway. But he might still grin, coming to the office. He moreover eagerly welcomed his subordinates within the tangle morning, which frightened everybody. They conjectured that he had a sweetheart, that's why he adored life so much. That made Hye-jin stressed. When she entered the room to deliver Sung-joon the records, she reminded him not to let individuals know around their relationship. Something else, she would be exceptionally modest, so that making Sung-joon irate. But the individual who appeared it was Hye-jin. All day long, she was grinning and moving and singing, making all her colleagues realize that she was in cherish. Within the evening, Sung-joon took Hye-jin domestic. He held her hand and couldn't bear to let go. This scene was seen by her more youthful sister, and the young lady yelled to her guardians, making both of them redden. So Sung-joon was welcomed into Hye-jin's house to eat, and everybody was near sufficient to require a family photo together. When Sung-joon returned to proceed working, and incidentally ran into Hari, who had fair arrived, the two still had a parcel to say, so they chose into conversation to resolve it. Sung-joon acknowledged to pardon Hari, and she too let him go. Returned to Hari and told Hye-jin around this. Sung-joon acknowledged to be her companion, so everything might return to its legitimate put. Within the evening, they both called together. Hye-jin fair inadvertently shouted out that the angle cakes were scrumptious. Suddenly, 5 minutes afterward, he was at the entryway giving her nourishment. Hye-jin did not eat alone, she went into the car to eat with Sung-joon. After eating, the two of them talked once more upbeat. Rather like that they fell sleeping without realizing it. It would be great in the event that everything went easily. But nowadays individuals from the magazine came to discover Sung-joon. They encouraged him to extend work capacity indeed more. In the event that this magazine does not break down, he will too be labeled a disappointment. All the weight will be on Sung-joon's shoulders. But he didn't need to tell other colleagues since he was perplexed they would feel the same weight as him and take off. But Jun-woo had listened this data someplace, so he told colleagues. Correspondent Cha Sha ran into the room to address Sung-joon. At this point he couldn't proceed to cover up it. He thought it was best to cover up it so as not to put weight on everybody. But he didn't know that they had given their entire youth to it. In case they knew it would collapse before long, they would chance their lives for once. They ought to have known in development. Sung-joon continuously needed to act alone and not depend on the staff. Correspondent Cha was exceptionally irate. Everybody turned their backs on him. As it were, Hye-jin remained. She wholeheartedly cheered for the individual she adored. Sam-joon too realized his botch. He was undoubtedly subjective and childish. That night, everybody did not go domestic, but remained at the company. They trusted together around the primary days they came to the foremost. The years of youth, devoting themselves, talking until the end of time, and after that going out to sing and have fun. Since, in case the magazine disbands within the future, they won't be able to see each other anymore. Sung-joon didn't go with everybody. His disposition was troublesome to say. He sat unobtrusively within the office, looking at everything. Hye-jin came to sit with him. They having done his best, Sung-joon is tired and fair needs a great night's rest on his lover's lap. Exceptionally rapidly, the most 20th commemoration has arrived. In today's ceremony, there was a portion of ceremony to declare the moment-era executive of the magazine chain. Who at to begin with Han Seo thought was June Charm, but it wasn't. His appearance made everybody shocked and incapable to accept it. That was Uncle Kim. An conventional uncle, but he was a relative of a head honcho. On the other hand, at the final minute, Sung-joon gotten Kang's answer mail. He came to the assembly put to appear his earnestness in needing to coordinate. Did not anticipate that this person would be Shin Hyuk. Sung-joon could not anticipate that the popular essayist who had been mysterious for so long would be the one battling for his clothing. Shin Hyuk initially planning not to show up, but the endeavors of Sung-joon and the boomer, the foremost staff, moved him to alter his intellect. He allowed Sung-joon to distribute and select article about his character within the magazine, but Sung-joon clearly caught on that Shin Hyuk had covered up his character for so long for his claim reasons, or the torment is difficult to why. Say presently, since to spare a magazine that's around to be broken down, but in spite of his life, will unquestionably be exceptionally distraught. So after a whereas of cautious thought, Sung-joon chosen not to distribute Shin Hyuk's meat within the newspaper. But when the primary magazines of the foremost were distributed with pictures of Shin Hyuk and elite meat data, Sung-joon was amazingly befuddled. He reached the pertinent parties as it were to discover out that Shin Hyuk actually inquired them to do so. The colleagues were fair stunned by Uncle Kim. Presently perusing the daily paper, they were stunned by Shin Hyuk. They had to shout that life is full of unforeseen occasions. Sung-joon attempted to contact Shin Hyuk, but it didn't work. The lodging moreover educated him that he had checked out and cleared out. He did these things fair to take off. But sometime recently taking off, he used it as a blessing for Hye-jin. In case Sung-joon is not an inconvenience, at that point Hye-jin will not be pitiful. In the event that she is upbeat, at that point Shin Hyuk will be upbeat. He plans to return to America to live with his receptive guardians. Sometime recently taking off, he did not go straightforwardly to the newsroom, but made a video call to say farewell to everybody. Shin Hyuk still clearly recalls the characteristics of each colleague. He recollects each person's propensities, pastimes, qualities, and weaknesses. Finally, he much obliged everybody for the days of working together and said farewell. At that time, the author of children's stories, who Hye-jin met the day sometime recently, recognized her ability. So this creator needed to welcome Hye-jin to connect her story composing group. It was Hye-jin's childhood dream that made her exceptionally energized. Sung-joon realized that, so he prompted his sweetheart to proceed seeking after her dream without going with him. This made Hye-jin exceptionally reluctant. Within the conclusion, she chosen to remain and attempt her enthusiasm for composing stories. Sung-joon is so skilled that she must do something to be commendable of him. Sung-joon gets at his girlfriend's sentiments. He gives her the ring to propose to begin with. Holds up a year afterward when he comes back to formally propose. Having the back of Hye-jin's boyfriend multiplied her certainty, and her companion Hari too upheld this choice. Briefly, Hye-jin will need to be absent from Hari for a year, remained with essayist Kim's story composing group to total the work. The night sometime recently Hye-jin cleared out, they both played joyfully together. At that point, they sat down and talked approximately ancient recollections. They said thanks to God for permitting them to be near companions each other. The following day, Hye-jin took Sung-joon to her working environment, so that a year afterward, he would return and discover her within the right put. Nowadays is the day he cleared out. He trusted Hye-jin will compose to him regularly. That way he wouldn't be afraid of losing her any longer. She concurred. The time of saturation passes. Fair a number of months have passed. Hye-jin had returned to her unique appearance. She was blameless and upbeat to be herself. Everybody cherishes this young lady who grins and is idealistic and adores life. Hye-jin has attempted her best to compose stories with her seniors. In spite of the fact that she is youthful, she has her claim exceptionally diverse fashion and way of considering. Right now, she is living greatly cheerfully with the way she has chosen. That ability is recognized by genuine scholars. Each time Hye-jin is lauded, she calls to show him off. In spite of the fact that they are in a door far away absent, the hearts of the two are not separated. They had to video call each other and eat together. But, abruptly one day, she couldn't contact her darling when she made a video call. Or a phone call. It continuously said it was active, and when she texted, there was no reaction, which made Hye-jin greatly stressed. She was anxious that Sung-joon would work as well difficult and get genuinely sick. That would make her grouchy and despondent all day. She incapable to concentrate on anything any longer, she kept looking at her phone, holding up for a response. So much so that she envisioned him with a tall fever on the floor, and his phone running out of battery without anybody knowing. But the foremost startling thing happened at this time. Within the summer rain, Sung-joon showed up before Hye-jin, carrying an umbrella, making her so energized that she overlooked the rain and ran to him. He worriedly ran over to cover her with the umbrella. The two individuals embraced each other firmly to conclusion the days of long-removed cherish. This time, returning, Sung-joon has gotten to be the unused editor-in-chief of the foremost, and the ancient editor-in-chief is around to induce married. Han Seo and Jun Charm are presently a few. Genuinely in a door, Hanzo realized that cherish is more critical than cash. Jun-woo treated her exceptionally well, so she gave up considering almost getting to be a wealthy lady and remained with him. They moreover arranged to urge hitched this year. Other than that, Hari has gone to college to open her own inn. She is additionally sought after by a more youthful boy. The boy's unadulterated sentiments bother Hari, but it is additionally something that what she needed in a door. As for Shin Hyuk-bae, has been proceeding his way of composing stories around his encounters traveling all over. He still keeps the fleece cap that Hye-jin gave him. He sees it as a wonderful memory covered up in his heart. As for Hye-jin, she was able to gather sufficient compensation to provide to her father so that he seemed purchase an used printer, making her guardians move to tears. They realized that their inept eldest girl had truly developed up. Her guardians gave Hye-jin back their 15 reserve funds to let her get hitched. Family love is continuously the noblest and most sacrosanct feeling after a long travel of difficult work. The author's team was distributed adaptation, counting Hye-jin's endeavors and dreams. It is something she cherishes more than ever. Her bliss is multiplied since presently is the ready opportunity for Sung-joon to propose to Hye-jin. The headband and the wedding blossom was actually woven by Hari for her best companion. She passed on her wishes to wish her companion a cheerful life. On the huge day of the bride's life, Hye-jin brought her cherish to the prep. Sung-joon into the wedding ceremony. They are the foremost excellent couple nowadays.